Okay. Hello. Hello. Hello, netizens. This is Herr Benji. So that's actually Benjamin. So, and I'm not German. I cannot speak German, but I'm just saying her because that's the German title for Mr. So, um, yeah, I'm thinking maybe in 20 years' time I'll have some views. So I'm not really worried about becoming like making money from advertising or anything right now. I do tend to think that if anything has any real value, it will last, a little bit more than, 10 seconds, like, so this will be the first of many ongoing web posts that I put up where I just will talk about my understanding of the universe, how it works. So basically, that means I'll be talking about some religion and relationships, um, human society, different cultures, and things like that, specifically pertaining to planet Earth. I cannot say I've had much to do with aliens from other planets. I wouldn't say I've had absolutely nothing to do with aliens from other planets, but I would say I've had such a scant anything to do with aliens from other planets that it doesn't bear mentioning. So, yeah, you're going to get some out there stuff from me, that's for sure. But you should want it because people should be realized now. For example, like if I try to challenge Catholics, if I put to you the facts that the hierarchy of the Catholic Church are essentially homosexuals and pedophiles, that would be shocking to a lot of Catholics. That those are the facts. If I were to tell you the Catholic Church is a black magic church, and the hierarchy are just basically black magicians, that perpetrate all kinds of pedophilia and homosexuality. I mean, first of all, that would offend the gay people around the world anyway, because you can't say anything bad about gay people now without being a bigot, you know. So, and then, yeah, I mean, so and I have an auntie in Spain that's, would be shocked, if I said that about the Catholic Church, but that's just self-evident to me. So, and it should be to most people. We have a problem now in the world that people don't want to think. People have become what Nietzsche describes as the last man, which is just a comfort creature and an imbecile and an idiot, and he says he created happiness and then he blinks, so he's a dumbass. So this is what we have in the world now. We have all these just cretins everywhere, lost. Talking about like conspiracy theories and there's a junta with Prince Andrew and Epstein, and they're trying to control the world with their 15-year-old prostitutes. No, there's just yes, there are a lot of rich people out there, doing all kinds of dopey things, but I mean the world isn't run by one, Illuminati party. There are Illuminati that are setting out, magical forces into our society, but that's a lot better than what you're getting from the Catholic Church. So, but yeah, there's no one power source, that even the presidents in America. So that's what Nietzsche talked about in his comments about the last man. He said that there'd only be one herd and no leader, no one to lead, no one to follow, just one, splotchy herd. So that is to some extent what we're looking at in the world, but the world is what you make of it as well. So if you just decide, what, I'm just going to pack up everything and go live in Pakistan, or I'm going to pack up everything and go live in Indonesia, you'll change your life, you'll change your world. So it's up to people to uh, educate themselves and make intelligent choices. What I'm seeing in the West is not that. I'm seeing people go backwards. People are just getting on Tinder and Grinder or whatever, and they're just looking for the next buddy to screw. people, it's so important. You just have this glory. You're making, as the Quran says, you're making your desire a god of your desires. So that's a sure sign of going backwards, going astray. So I would categorize human existence as you're either astray, which is what Master Jesus referred to as, the wide path where people trip on the stone or whatever, and it's a path to destruction, or you're in the straight and narrow. The straight and narrow is a very narrow path, and that's the right path to be on. So we've already talked about some of my favorite philosophers, Jesus, Nietzsche. Um, what else did I want to talk about? We're talking about, blah, 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 blah. Yes, this is very important. The law of eternal return. What is the law of eternal return? The law of eternal return states that all mankind must reincarnate. Now, obviously, the Christians are not aware of, the references to reincarnation in the Gospels. For example, when the disciples say to Jesus, Master, why is this man being born blind? They didn't ask him why is he blind. They asked him, and this is a guy they're asking that could cure blindness. So, they want to know what he has to say. So they asked him why was he born blind. Says the reason they asked him why he was born blind, who did wrong for him to be born blind, is because they're asking, did he do something wrong in the previous life to be born blind, which is always a possibility. Or did his parents do something wrong for him to be born blind, that they're being punished with his blindness? It was hard to raise him. He cannot help them. He's a liability. So he's a liability. It's considered punishment. The question is, who made a mistake for that happen? And of course, it's logical to think he might have made a mistake in one of his prior lifetimes for that to happen. So Jesus at no point rebuked them for saying, what do you mean, why was he born blind? What has it got to do if he's born blind if that's the first time his soul ever existed was when he was born? How could he do something wrong? No one ever talks like that in the Bible. That's a creation that the Western Christianity has settled into. And it's amazing to see amongst the Muslims that the Quran goes into much more detail about the law of eternal return. It describes it as a promise that God is beholden to. And it mentions many times in the Quran that you'll be rebuilt from scratch, and your bones will be knit up again fresh. And many references to reverencing the wombs, and it's a constant law of eternal return, and you're not seeing and understanding of that from the Muslims either. So we have the Muslims and the Christians not understanding basic principles of their own religion, and we have a lot of Hindus that do understand that, although they often get wrong how it works in practice. And also we know the Hindus are polytheists, so they don't worship God. They worship like 100 different gods because they're polytheists. So this is common in human kind, that you'll see one area has a strength and the other area has a weakness. Now, what they refer to as, I guess, the Northern European or the Protestant working ethic, I don't know how true that is, because I see a lot of countries that are rich, Saudi Arabia, with a lot of hardworking people with very good educations and very technical fields. Spain has always been a rich country, just plundering South America. Italy is one of the richest countries in Europe. They're Catholics, they're not Protestants. So there is this persistent myth that the Protestants have some kind of work ethic, and a lot of the Northern Europeans, even the ones in America that most of Americans are of Northern European descent, they tend to just look down on Southern Europeans. I myself am 100% Spanish, from like all my family's from Spain. I was born and raised in Western Sydney in Australia, and I'll talk later about how some of the failings of Australian linguistics and whatnot. And I've already mentioned, I don't care for a pedophile black magic church that the Catholic Church represents. And that's in America too. It doesn't matter if your country is advanced or not. Things can turn around in a heartbeat. So just now we're in the middle of this coronavirus, and things are subject to change. So anyway, so I've kind of rattled and raved on for 10 minutes now, and yeah, talking about some of the great truths. So coming back to the law of eternal return, this is a fact and it's the truth. Okay, and so all of these people, the Christians and Muslims that don't grasp that, that think that, like, let me put it another way. I was attending, I started attending a church when my son turned 1, and I realized I had to take care of my son every Sunday because I couldn't stand to be around my mother-in-law because she wouldn't make any, allowances for me. Like if I told her, can you stop saying, hold on a sec. Like she just said it out loud, like she's talking to herself when she's busy doing stuff. And I'm like, that's really getting on my nerves because you're saying that like every 30 seconds. Can you stop doing that? And she wouldn't stop doing it. So, I just had to leave, So yeah, I'm an irritable person. So I ended up having to take care of my son, on Sundays just by myself. And that's when going to a Christian church becomes appealing when you're in that position, when you're with a young family, the Christian church is appealing. And that's an all-star church. So what I mean by that is that, and it's not really understood by the followers of Christianity because they falsify the truth. They say, oh, there isn't one God, there's three gods, and God took a wife for himself, and then he was born from that wife, and then that wife that he took for himself was his mother. That's incestuous nonsense. God doesn't appear as a man, and that God doesn't need to take a wife or anything. God creates everything there is. He doesn't need to sleep. Doesn't. It's not even a he. It's a it. So and you can't talking to a Christian is like talking to just an imbecile, someone that cannot think straight. Like they understand just buy a house, and they understand a few good things. Like adultery is bad, and whatever. But half the times there's so much evil there, because the pastor's screwing some child or whatever, and his wife is an adulteress. And they don't. It's all hypocrisy. They don't really say what they really stand for. They're too. There's a dissonance between the inner self, what it wants, and what the outer self is pretending to. So Jesus is definitely a symbol for the inner self because he did have a holy nature, and he did have a special virgin birth that made him a little bit, higher vibratory level, more pure than most people. But what I was going to say is that a lot of people don't understand about what they don't understand about that situation was that a lot of the apostles that were with Jesus of his like 12 were uh, very, very advanced people, and some of them would have been born from virgin births as well prior to that, not just him. So it's like if you remember the first time America played in the Olympics. A lot of their competition in basketball, they get it from Spain, actually. And Americans are so boastful when it comes to basketball. They will be like, "Oh, we're never going to lose to Spain," for Spain. Oh, what a joke! But Spain consistently plays America in the semifinals in the basketball, and they're very good basketball team by global standards. But the Americans being such hopeless boasters, I'd be embarrassed, if I felt I needed to identify with a basketball team to have a better sense of self-worth. That would be embarrassing for me. So all these people in America that feel like that's making them feel more cocky and self-confidence. I'm sorry for you because you're a loser. You should get self-confidence from being a good parent, being a good husband or something like that, being useful to your community, not because you identify with the LA Lakers who are going to go to hell probably. So, but in terms of, mastery, that's what we're talking about. The Americans, when they put a basketball team on the court in the Olympics, it's a masterful basketball team. And it's, even if you have one outstanding player like Jordan, which the American basketball team had that, I think when they first played in '94 or whenever it was, they had, well, 96, they had at Atlanta or somewhere, I don't remember, but I mean, it's not a memorable thing. It's just a case of idolatry. But yeah, okay, it's understood that as a basketball player, putting aside all the idolatry and all the idiots, which, thank God they can't even congregate these days because of this virus, so we can see what normal people look like for a change. Uh, Jordan was a great basketball player, but if you put Jordan with 4, 5 very mediocre players, he wouldn't really be able to shine. They wouldn't be able to pass the ball to him or anything. So, um, with the Jesus's disciples, there was a dream team there. I mean, I'm not going to get into who was who. I'll tell you, one of the greatest disciples of Jesus was probably Confucius, reincarnated. I'm not going to go into many more details, but there are select. Those people will continually reincarnate. All of those disciples. Judas. How do you know Judas never reincarnated as Joseph Stalin? You don't know that. And so you don't know. That says it in the Quran as well. Like it says, God knows, you don't know. So you don't know. Okay, we don't know because we're not God. So we don't know. Okay, so this is all speculation. But my understanding of the whole Jesus thing is that it wasn't all about Jesus at all, And sometimes Christians like to refer to that. They talk about, Rachel or, Mary Magdalene or any number of people. It certainly was a small community they had going there. And they were sworn to Jesus. So it wasn't like they were just buddies. Like I think some of them had to take oaths, even to the point of death. So we don't have anything like that. So we just have mystery schools, and mystery schools, they don't. There's never been charismatic leadership like that we know of since then. So how does that apply? Like at my local church, which I said first time I started going to church was like 6 years ago. I never was interested before that because I was pretty much aware of the Christian situation as I just described it to you. There's a dream team there. There's no three gods. There's only one God. There's no God has a wife and then he's born from that wife and then that wife's his mum. Bullshit. That's all bullshit. Yeah, Jesus never said worship Jesus. That's also written in the Quran. It just said worship God. So they're coming with so much bullshit about Jesus, and they're just raping children like left, right, and center. These Christians, they going bankrupt in many American states. In Oregon, the Catholic Church is bankrupt. In Australia, the Anglican Church, which is one of the churches, which is the church I started going to. My son had to sell so much real estate to pay for their legal expenses for raping all these kids. I just can't understand these people that want to rape kids. I mean, it's hard to understand. These are black souls that are very frustrated, and they want to just bring that hurt out. And the only thing you can do with those people is probably just put them to death. That's probably the best thing you can do. But we have this sick society, where those people just are actors, and they go around life acting, oh yeah, like, oh, I'm such a great guy, and haha, let's be friends. And they probably got buddies and stuff, or they go, I don't know, they go live in country New South Wales or something, and I don't know. I don't understand. There's just like the amount of evil out there is just off the charts. So I just understand in Christianity, Jesus had Judas to represent that area of evil. But yeah, I can't imagine Judas would have ever have been that kind of evil. So yeah, it might have been evil for Judas to betray Jesus, but I mean, I could never imagine Judas becoming a pedophile or something scummy like that. I think he would have been a lot better than that as a person. So, yeah, we're really talking about some really evil, scummy people out there. Yeah, and we're talking about the Christians as well. And when I meant the Christians, I kind of meant the original Christians. So Jesus, and whose original name was Joseph, and his friends or disciples. A lot of whom I just said were a dream team of soul evolution, and many of them were. The Confucius one I mentioned was probably at Jesus' level, but not any great big difference between them. So it's like, well, you got Jordan here, you got Charles Barkley over there, who's better. I mean, they're just that both of them are at such a high level. But when you watch a movie about Jesus, it's like they're like, oh, there's 12 dumbasses over there, and then this guy over here who's just like, you know, unapproachable, like everything's just like you're talking to God. It's not like that. I don't. That's not my understanding of Christianity at all, and that's not the understanding that you're going to get from reading the Quran. Reading the Quran is a good idea for everyone, but not everyone's going to want to do that. It does say that in the Quran too, that people have a seal on their hearts and whatnot. And people tend to associate the Quran with a certain block of people who are all very inbred, actually, because they've been marrying their cousins for a long time. And between Morocco and Pakistan, you have this swath of nations that are, Muslim, or they say they're Muslim, but they don't do things that are in the Quran. For example, in the Quran, it says that it's forbidden for you to inherit women for marriage against their will. But you're not seeing that in these so-called Muslim countries. You're seeing cousins being forced to marry their cousins against their will. So girls being forced to marry against their will, that's against the Quran. People in the West are like, well, we don't need to read the Quran. That's barbaric. We're just so much better than that. I mean, no, you're not. You cannot even keep yourself clean now with this virus. The amount of just, disgusting pigs in the West is ridiculous. But anyway, it's good to read the Quran because it'll at least give you a grasp of, right and left, to put it one way. So whatever. Anyway, so we've talked about Christianity, the Quran. Yeah, so tying that back to Nietzsche, Nietzsche talks about human evolution as not necessarily improving in a given generation. So he's saying that the people of the Renaissance years, that's Italy around the time of like Da Vinci and Michelangelo, that those people were, that from their generation, more advanced than today. He's the people of his day, and the people of his day, the credit be to them, they didn't. I mean, they didn't have all these creature comforts that we have now. Now, the only source of literature that talks about that creature comforts is the Quran. The Quran says that God wishes ease for people. God cannot provide ease for people because they refuse to obey his laws and wishes. So, but even still, he's so merciful that he forgoes a lot of things. But eventually, yeah, he has to. God has to. I shouldn't say he, but God has to punish, and God does punish. So, but clearly, yeah, God does want ease for us at this point, and we're having a lot of ease with our washing machines and whatnot. But yeah, it's just sad because you see a lot of idolatry. Like we have this TV show here in Australia. It's called Married at First Sight, and it's really shameful. Like, I mean, it's honestly, it's hard for me just to watch it for even just 10 seconds because it's pitiful and it's sad. Like having gay marriage and all this, and just trying to make a mockery of marriage. There's a lot of people that want to make a mockery of marriage. The first people are the youth who are not ready to marry yet, or they're ready to marry but they can't marry well because they're too dumb, which is they're too selfish. So there's nothing stopping people from challenging themselves in their youth. I challenge myself in my youth. Um, a lot of people will challenge themselves in their youth, but I don't know. It looks to me like the people here in Australia, they're just kind of taking it easy and, oh, yeah, I'll just use the word dean instead of teen, and we'll have all our deans at the universities just sell fake degrees to the communist Chinese and get their money. Ha ha, he he. And that's the kind of the culture we have here. And yeah, it's really exemplified the evil here when you see a show like Married at First Sight. It just looks evil to me. Like, I don't see anything good there at all. It's like if I see a lot of these Christian people, or even Muslims, talking about things that they know about, like the afterlife. They don't know about the afterlife. Well, how would you know about the afterlife if you don't know about the law of eternal return? How could you know about the afterlife? So I meant to tell a joke that the preacher at this church that I was going to. Now, the preacher at this church, I understood shortly after I went there, and I could be wrong in my understanding, but as I said, I started going there about 6 years ago. My son Alex, and I came to see the preacher's eldest daughter was just a little girl in those days, like think 4 or 5 year old girl, very young, and straight away I strongly felt, oh, that's my sister reincarnated. I had this. Here she is. Here, look, I've got this sister Raquel. I had this sister Raquel. That's her there. She was sent. She worked for Microsoft on. She worked indirectly from. So she worked for Microsoft via a New Zealand company intermediary, but she would basically, she was a manager at Microsoft. She did a lot of IT kind of organizational work for them. Like she organized their customer service in Singapore and Malaysia. She spent a year in Singapore, a year in Malaysia, organizing all their customer service for them. From scratch. She's done interesting things with her career like that. I actually liked my sister Raquel, and yeah, I was very upset when I found out she died. It was the most upsetting things that happened to me. And when this girl came walking along at the church, I just had this overwhelming feeling like, oh, that is my sister reincarnated. That's what I'm talking about, the afterlife. When I mentioned, sometimes Hindus will often say things like that, but they tend to see that happening within their own family, not someone else's family. So, and often I think they just got it wrong. Like my father thought I was a reincarnation of his father. I just thought, yeah, you're confused. You're wrong about that. So, I could be wrong about that too, but that's generally how the afterlife works, in my understanding. It's not. So let me anyway tell you a joke that the father of this girl told, which at one point, which he was the preacher. He's the preacher of that church, and yeah, obviously this girl might not be the reincarnation of my sister. I mean, it's whatever. But the father, he comes to the church and he's all like, yeah, what's up? Yeah, where is it? Can you just go do it? Just go ahead and do it. You want to read the meter? You just go do it. Yeah, go ahead. It's a meter reader. So he's at the church there and he's telling this joke. He's like, oh, someone dies and goes to heaven, and they're at St. Peter's pearly gates or whatever, and they check his file, and they're like, oh, yeah, you don't have to go to hell, and you can go to heaven. And I'm sure that's something like that happens, immediately after death before you reincarnate. Yeah, probably does. Pretty sure people go to one place or the other. But this guy, uh, in the joke, he's like, oh, well, you got to heaven. What do you want to do here, bro? The guy's like, I want to go fishing. So like, okay, go fishing. So he goes fishing, and he's just happy as Larry. He's going fishing, and then the next day they're like, okay, what do you want to do now? And he's like, I want to go fishing. And so he goes fishing, and he goes fishing, and he goes fishing, and he goes fishing, and all of a sudden it's like, I'm bored. So it's not heaven anymore because he's bored. You see, so what we really have are these states. Like if you read Swedenborg, there's another interesting philosopher. Swedenborg talks about the general state of childhood as being something like uh, Abraham. Okay, so Abraham is like a symbol for that childhood state, prepubescent state. Um, You'll have to explore the veracity of that. I'm not really interested right now. What I can tell you as having, because I have little kids of mine, is that they're certainly in a different state. They're not running around thinking about sex all day like some people are. So, you know, uh, yeah. So, and they're more innocent, but I can see in Australia, a lot of that innocence gets chased away and ruined. And Australia is a strange Victorian country. It's just the Americans had the right idea, just kind of fighting a battle to get rid of the British royalty, but the Australians don't have a concept of that. They're like, no, we love the British royalty. It's great, mine. We never want to rule ourselves, mine. Oh my, So it's like, and anyway, the British royalty has no real power. So all you're doing is just institutionalizing a form of, I don't know, Anglo worship or something, British superiority. It's a joke. But I didn't want to talk about politics just now because we're talking about something else, or I'm talking about something else. So the meter reader's gone. So, yeah, what happens if you go to heaven and then you just get bored? Well, if you read Swedenborg, you'll see what happens when people go to heaven. And he describes many interesting things there. Like there are many houses in heaven, and it's just like being on earth, but you're Not on earth. You're in heaven. So you have a body, like when you dream at night, you have a body, and you can walk around and do stuff, and you can catch up with people you knew. I'm not really sure how it all works. I don't really know, but yeah, imagine there is. In a broader sense, we might say that you're bathed by the Holy Spirit. So that means that even if you're a very evil person and you were given a death penalty, um, you, as the Quran describes too, you might be punished in that section of the afterlife. The Quran describes being given scalding hot water to drink. So that might happen in hell, where evil people are given scalding, dirty hot water to drink as a punishment, which would burn their spiritual throats. Um, so all of that, I guess, would be a form of being bathed in the Holy Spirit. So very evil people are often, as the Quran says, have their evil blotted out again and again by God. So God can restore very evil people, like the Nazis or something, um, back to healthy, happy family lives quite easily for God to do that. And so I mean, God's the one that's really running the show. So it's like you're at the casino. He's the dealer, the management, everything. I mean, he's really controlling things. He can control everything. He can just sell this. Everyone's got a date. They have to die. That's your date of death is preordained. So what you do between then and now is up to you, which might bring about a different form of death. But at the end of the day, you're going to die on the same day, because it's preordained. That's why people come back to life after near death experiences as well, and they always say, oh well, it's not my time, because people have to achieve certain things in their lives. Or some people do. Some people are just evil, and we have this namby-pamby society. It's too bad we cannot be more like Saudi Arabia and just say, all right, well, let's kill the pedophiles. I mean, if we just started killing pedophiles, our whole society would just be greatly improved. And I mean, yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't want to be like China, where you don't just kill them, you take their organs out and sell them, because then it just starts looking like you're getting scummy. So yeah, human society, anyway, it doesn't look so great. But I guess jail's pretty good alternative. I mean, no one wants to go to jail, and you know, you put someone in jail for 15 years, and they'd probably be like, yeah, I better not do any more crimes. I don't want to go back. Some people want to go back there because they don't know any other way, but yeah, so whatever. I don't know. Yeah, it's sad for the people when those really bad, evil criminals get out of jail. And we had some girl get raped here in Sydney by a guy like that, and thankfully, got interrupted by another guy. I was outside a little dance school, and but that's what those people do. That's all they know how to do. So I'm just saying, those people are better off just being put to death. But we have this wussy Western society that can never do that. Just even in America, it's just so, so wussy, and you have so many abnormalities. You just have these kids shooting up their schools or whatever, and they don't worry about shooting a pedo. No, just shoot up your school buddies because they, you felt ostracized or whatever. It's just ridiculous. So it just seems self-evident to me, if you're gonna start killing people in your society, start with the pedos. Then you'll actually help your society. Because otherwise you might be depriving someone of like a source of income or something. Or their beloved son or something. So whatever. Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, we've covered a lot of topics here. I wonder if that guy really was a meter reader. My mom lives in a really dodgy neighborhood. It's like I grew up here, and it's just extremely dodgy. I haven't been living here lately, but I'm here now. I'm trying to escape my missus. So that's a whole different topic we can talk about, is how when women get out of control, they represent like an evil Satan. Um, and we're getting a lot of that in the West as well. That's all part of our problem as well, is because the women do not want to obey their husbands, and they don't think their husbands should be obeyed. And they want to actually, a lot of women, they want to please some nebulous idol that television has conjured up for them. With all these TV shows like Married at First Sight or The Bachelor, these TV producers, I'm sure a lot of them are just going to get their mouths washed out with soap in the afterlife. Now, when I talk about the afterlife, I could be talking about pre-incarnate or incarnate afterlife. So whatever happens in this life is consequential of what you've done in previous lives. But things can happen to you in between lifetimes in the immaterial plane. So in the what we call heaven or hell, classically, like according to Dante. So that's not to say we don't have heaven or hell here on earth, because of the maxim as above so below. It's obvious that as you ascend to higher forms of evolution, like on a different planet, say only 4 light years away, we have Sirius. It's said to be populated, and apparently the people that can get around on spaceships to Earth or wherever, so they'd be more evolved than we are. So um, you cannot imagine a more evolved society being backward like the people are on Earth. So um, because they would have evolved beyond that. So and actually a lot of people wouldn't realize that we had societies here on Earth going back to what they refer to in the Quran and the Bible as Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve is not just two people. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to reproduce, because Cain and Abel would be having sex with their mom to have more kids. Doesn't make sense. Didn't happen like that. There was a you have to read Blavatsky to learn about that. There was a single sex race, which we call Adam, which could reproduce without sex. They could reproduce like with an egg or something. If and we're talking about a period like concurrent with the dinosaurs as well. So, and we're talking about beings that you can have beings on a planet that are so ethereal, so they're not physically barely even there. They're ethereal. So and then also it's hard to believe we could have had humans 100 meters tall concurrent with the dinosaurs, and that they only have one gender. People can't wrap their heads around these things. We're already digging up bones all around the world. They've dug up bones with a femur bigger than a person, taller than me. I'm 6 foot tall. And they've dug up human bones. You can Google it, and there's just an astonishing silence. So that leads to the problem of the corruption of our universities. So the universities are all good and well when it comes to real things, like science and mechanics and that, electrical engineering. But when it comes to the humanities, the universities are corrupt and they're bereft. So their first order of events will be to shut anyone down that actually has an original idea. They are opposed to free thinking. So I used to date this girl from Berkeley, California, University. She's from LA, but she just was just enamored with Berkeley, and she's like, "Oh, Berkeley, 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 Berkeley. Oh, Berkeley, we're so smart in Berkeley." Like, I don't think they're that smart in Berkeley, because what I think is that what I just said, that the uh, everything that what we regard as the humanities are just wrong. They're off track. Okay, if you had a smart humanities set in the universities, people would know about Blavatsky. Okay, people would know more about Swedenborg. People would understand about spirituality. If they understood about spirituality, you wouldn't just have like, slutty drug taking kids at university popping ecstasy and whoring around, in their little lesbian, menage a trois or whatever they're doing all day. I went to university here, and it's a credit to me actually as a thinker that it says excluded on my uh, university discharge papers, because I mean the kids I was going to university with were just on heroin, on speed, on ecstasy, slut around here, slut around there. Oh, let's have a threesome. I mean, just scumbags. Really. And these are the people that they graduated, because I studied media. They graduate to work in the media. They make movies and shit. They make your favorite TV shows, and they have a pretense to decency, and that's just where'd you get that from? It's like, because I grew up in this really working class suburb, where people don't go to university. We had one school I went to just down the road here, it was on the front page of one of the Sydney newspapers as the year that failed because everyone got under 50% in their total kind of end of high school score. So I'm not from an area where people go to university. When I go to university and I see the two faces that people have. They have the face they're trying to project, like, oh, I'm respectable, Yeah, a lot of people want to project respectability. I never see someone say, oh, I want to respect, I want to project. Yeah, you know who projects non-respectability are very sheepish, sheeple, the punks. Okay, so there was a subset movement, the punks in England, and they put up their hair in different colored spikes and everything. And they're just punks. And look, I'm just going to flip this conversation on its head, okay? Imagine we're in Russia and I'm just talking to some Russians, that can think straight. There's a lot of smart people in Russia, but I mean, and they might not subscribe to a lot of this kind of Western bourgeois sickness that I'm talking about, like gay marriage and all this shit. And I'm not saying let's go bash all the gay people, I'm not saying I'm super heterosexual or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, there's all these different subsets and ideas of what's right and what's wrong. The Quran refers to that as, everyone has their belief and God is well aware of their belief. Okay, so everyone has their beliefs. This is all boiling down to just beliefs, not about color. If you believe it's okay to have a threesome, then that's your belief. So some people don't believe that. To their credit, a lot of these Christians do try to keep it decent, but unfortunately, because of their misunderstandings of some of the doctrines, they don't understand it's better for two consenting men to have sex together than it is, married or not, than it is for an adult to rape a child and just keep it a secret. They don't understand that. Okay, so that's the problem with the Christian church, and they have that problem in Russia too. So you know this is a problem in Russia. So the Russians, they tried to create their own reality in Bolshevism, and all you get in Russia are Bolsheviks. Here in Australia, we have some Russians that, like, their great grandparents did escape Bolshevism. They went to China for like 2 generations, and then they migrated to Australia. And they're just teaching their kids, like, I guess, white Russian, as opposed to red Russian. Uh, their beliefs or whatever, and everyone just speaks Russian. They're not really evolving. Like, when they talk English, they just sound like English rednecks. Like, if you get a Russian just come to Australia straight off the bat, like full Bolshevik, she'll just talk like I do, like, or with an American accent or something. You know what I mean? But these white Russians that escaped Russia, uh, during the Bolshevik Revolution, they went to China, and then they went to Australia, and they just talk like total English rednecks, and it's like, that means like they're real true blue Aussies or something. So yeah, I'm jumping around a lot, aren't I? So I'm talking about this and that. That's what I'm doing. I'm just having a YouTube thing. I feel very constricted living in Australia because there's a certain kind of orthodoxy here, and a lot of the people that Australians look to for leadership are very, very, very shabby. I just mentioned these Russians, the white Russians that escaped the Bolsheviks and never wanted to kind of be a part of Bolshevism, and they end up in Australia and they just end up sounding like dumb English rednecks, because that's like what they chosen for themselves. So, and that's like true blue dinky die for them or something. So yeah, we have such a constrictive society here in Australia. No one can even really take 5 steps before someone is, labeled or accused or, suspected of being mentally ill. So it's a really kind of sad country in that respect. Like, I mean, and I went up to talk to one guy at work the other day and a while ago, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm thinking about topping myself, like," by that he means he's thinking about suicide. And I regret I didn't, even remember what he looks like, or I guess my subconscious mind remembered, and I don't remember, and I never really, wasn't in a position to consciously take it up with him, like, oh, maybe you should get some counseling or something. But we're just seeing a lot of that in Australia. We generally breed a society here where it's considered okay just to go on suicide. Like, for example, my sister did, but it's not okay to just do, like in America, like you do a school massacre or something. So I guess that's the Australian belief. It's okay to go and kill yourself, um, but I mean, it's a lot better. Definitely not okay to just go and kill other people. So unless you're in a war or something, but I don't know. If you are in a war and you go kill other people, you'll be in a bad position now because they're having a big crisis here in Australia about veterans, like being in crisis and suiciding and all this shit. Yeah, I just think this English yoke that Australia has on its government is just crippling. It's embarrassing. You look at Rolf Harris painting a portrait of the Queen, and all these people come out and said, "Oh no, he's a pedophile. He grabbed me boobies when I was a little girl." It's like, I'd be embarrassed if I was the Queen of England. I'd be embarrassed that I can only reach out to scummy douchebags. That's shameful. That the monarchy should be so much better than that. So I mean, but that's the world we live in. So and yeah, I mean. Brings me to journalists now. So journalists, okay, we'll talk about psychiatrists another time. I have a big family in Spain. I have journalists there. I have psychiatrists there in my family. It's a very mixed bag there. So um, journalists, yeah, journalists are really. I mean, a lot of them are just like traffickers and PR agents and enablers of very dodgy idols. So once you've made it, like you're Vin Diesel now, you can just pull so many chicks and just arrange your legal affairs so you don't leave your toothbrush at her house so she cannot sue you for, you know, I don't know, divorce settlement or something, like you've got a PR agent and all these people are making money off you now. So they want you to yeah, those people, they just kind of fall into a trap, and that's not something they can carry forward in the next lifetime. Once they die, that goes through a process of vastation or devastation. That's described if you read, just Google Swedenborg, vastation, devastation. That's the procedure where everyone goes through it at some point. You can go through it in between lifetimes, in the afterlife, in the immaterial plane. You can go through it in your own life. Your sister dies or you break up with your girlfriend or something, you go through a process of vastation or devastation. So you have to give up these ideas and habits and dependencies that you've become accustomed to. Um, yeah. So next topic I'm going to move on to because I don't want to just shit all over the psychiatrists just yet, and the weak kind of insecure people of Australia. We don't have that problem in America, thank God. God bless you all over there in USA, 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 USA. The next thing I want to talk about was, so I wasn't going to crap on psychiatrists. I wasn't going to bitch about Australia's like little bitchy kind of psychology of bitches here and their little bitchy rugby and their little bitchy idols here, or was I going to bitch about that? I kind of just was bitching about that. Sometimes I just forget things. I get forgetful because I have my next. Oh yeah, that's what I want to talk about. So one of the things you get often from superficial Western people or pseudo Western people from Eastern Europe or something is they get this idea, oh yeah, I want to achieve nirvana. I want to achieve nirvana. Like, this is this funny idea people have. Yeah, I want to achieve nirvana. You're not going to achieve any nirvana, okay? What you're going to achieve, keeping in mind that you have to reincarnate. I mean, you're going to have to reincarnate eventually. Hopefully, if you don't get blotted out of existence, you'll eventually reincarnate as like an alien with that's all smooth between the legs and like 3 trillion years, maybe you can evolve into that. Who knows? I don't know. These are the mysteries of the universe. I don't really understand, but like, I mean, achieving nirvana is what you really want to achieve is what the Quran talks about, which is people that are content with God and God is content with them and they're content with God. Those are the people that have entered paradise, or whatever. That's the great achievement. So I guess that's what you would mean by nirvana. But the way the Buddhists put it forward
they're putting it forward like you're in this kind of happy, sleepy state, where you've been working hard for like a year nonstop and you've barely been able to sleep. And finally, you're on holiday, you get to sleep in, and you're sleeping. It's 11 o'clock in the morning, and you just feel so blissful, and you're half awake, half asleep, and that's nirvana. That's maybe that is nirvana, but that no one's going to be like that. Like, I mean, you might be like that when you're dead for 50 Earth years, and it just seems like a minute. And then you reincarnate. I mean, yeah, maybe you achieve it on that level, but I don't think anyone's going to achieve, that in the earth plane. We're here to do things. That's why we got hands. We can grab things and do stuff. We have to reproduce. That's why we have, genitalia, because to sustain the species. So we have to have sex. We have to grab things and build things, and sometimes we have to kill people. We have to, do so many things as humans. We're not just going to lie in bed at 11 o'clock every morning, oh, this is nirvana. It doesn't work like that. You'd only feel good sleeping in at 11 a.m. in the morning if you've just been working your ass off for a year and, you're on holiday all of a sudden, you know what I mean? Otherwise, you just become depressed. If you could sleep until 11 o'clock every morning, if you hadn't worked for it, you'd eventually, that would be depressing for you. That wouldn't be a holiday. It wouldn't be a happy retirement. It'd be depressing. So, um, yeah, Nirvana. I mean, there's some funny people out there. I mean, I'm just thinking of two people right now that were young when they told me that, and it just seems dumb. I don't know. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think the best chance people can have of wanting, like, for example, a good family life for themselves in the future is if they experience that for themselves. But how are they going to experience that if you bring your child to church and he gets raped there by a preacher? They're not going to experience that. So this cycle of damage is going on and on and on, and we can only expose it and fix the problem by, on one level, just examining what is true and what is not true. That's why I wanted to make core tenet of this my first, kind of blog post, blogcast, live chat, whatever. This is my first time where I put a video that's more than like a minute 30. Normally I just do a 1 minute video and then re-up another 1 minute video, another 1 minute video. Now I'm just talking, ad lib for an hour non-stop. So at one time I got this Israeli guy in my taxi cab here in Sydney when I was a taxi driver. He was a very shifty guy. He was a Jewish guy, and he said to me, you should be a professor. You're real smart. You know a lot about a lot of things. That's true, actually. I'm very well educated. I could talk, all day long about many topics. And but I can't be a professor because I made a point of not graduating university because I'm in rebellion against the sheer stupidity. So I chose not to graduate university and just take an intellectual path in life, which I did, which just led me to where I am. And a lot of doors are closed to me because I refuse to play that fake game of get a fake degree from these fake people that are just evil, and they're representing this fake institution. It's like the church in the dark ages. I mean, it's primitive. The humanities faculties around the world now are just like pathetic, and they just sit around there and talk about Paris Hilton and what a loser she is and giggle about their little idols all day long. I mean, it's idolatry, so no one's really thinking for themselves there. They're just bitches. And then if you go along with that glorified daycare for 4 years, you get a certificate saying daycare graduate, and then some dumbass in a corporation thinks you're more employable than someone else. I mean, obviously people cannot think for themselves. They don't have any core beliefs. So that's what's referred to in the Quran as an unbeliever. So I mean, I'm not going to go around killing all the unbelievers, but I just have done a heck of a job avoiding them. I mean, I put my fair share of carbon dioxide in the air for them to breathe in, and I guess I'll be sharing, viruses with them like COVID-19, whatever. But, it's like Hamlet says, you cannot take up arms against a sea of oppressors and by opposing in them. I don't think you can just blast your way out of every dumbass situation you get into. I think the Quran refers to that understanding as having great determination. So yeah, I would say I'm greatly determined not to um, just be a fuckwit, like in a sucker, and end up in hell eating shit, which is where a lot of these, university humanities lecturers and enablers, professors, the whole lot. I mean, there's just a fuckload of people that are just going to go to hell when they die, and they're going to get roasted in a lake of fire. I mean, I would never even believed I would say that when I was younger, because I used to have this kind of more Buddhist outlook. But two truths don't cancel each other out. Okay, that, I guess it's another great cosmic law I never even really thought about until now. Just the first time I even mentioned it, it just came to my mind. Like, but it's true that two truths do not cancel each other out. The fact that God is great and merciful and will blot out your sin. You're just a dumb fucking idiot in the West or something. Where you Faculty of Humanities bullshit, and your middle class piece of shit existence that will mean nothing but burning up carbon dioxide in the long run. Your shitty happiness that counts for nothing, and yet you're a parasite on this earth, fucking it up, And then okay, uh, apart from any punishment you might get for that, for burning up too much CO2, I mean, your belief system is shit. So you're probably going to reincarnate as, like everyone else, a beautiful bouncing baby. Um, but I mean, I just imagine from all these near-death experiences, stories I hear about people in hell just screaming and roasting, and it's forever, it's forever, it's forever. Well, forever is forever. When you're in the moment, forever is forever. We're all part of forever. We're all in forever, and this is forever. Okay, so you're always part of forever. So if you go stick a nail in your foot, like say what happened to Jesus, you're gonna feel a lot of pain, a lot of pain. Okay, and that's going to be forever. That pain will be forever. Okay, because that pain in that moment is going to hurt like fucking hell. And that's what's going to happen when you lose your body. You're going to get roasted in a lake of fire or whatever. You're going to have to drink a boiling hot cup of water. You're going to get fucked the way you fucked. The way you are such a fucking douchebag, you're going to rot in hell. And people don't understand that. They just think, oh, that's bullshit, but it's not. Okay, I'm going to tell you right now, it's not. Hell is real, and it's here, and it's always waiting for you in a future lifetime, and it's going to spring up on you when you don't expect it, and it's going to fuck you up. And it's going to happen in between lifetimes. You're going to get roasted in the spiritual world. It's going to hurt spiritually more than it could on earth, and you're going to be fucked. So I hate to end this on a very religious note, considering we're meant to be living these happy times and everything, but all I can say is, repent. I don't give a shit if you're like a Muslim mufti or a Christian Bible bashing do-good idiot or an atheist. What you are, you need to repent and get right with God, because you're gonna get fucked up seriously. Like, I mean, you're gonna burn in hell. You better try to avoid it. All right. So on that happy note, we're just gonna leave it for now. And that's been an hour, and I can see a cockroach up there. I want to go squash it. So we'll talk later. I just burnt a shitload of sausages just before I got started, so the room was all smoky, and it's not a cockroach up there. I got an infestation I deal with. Anyway, gotta go. Talk later. Bye bye.